Halving producing all kinds of crazy price action. Paul Tudor Jones getting on the CNBCs. We have plenty to discuss today, now don't we?
Let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let.
Well, welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It's a little bit of a different scene today as I set up the whole new setup, but I do want to wish you well. I want to wish you the best of the best and the happiest of the happiest, as why the fuck not? It's free to do, and it can only help. At least I hope it can only help. Anyways, also, we have plenty to talk about today. Following up on yesterday's analysis, we did hit our lower term time frame target at about 8,400, then popped up to our medium term time frame target at 9,150 or 9,100 is what I was saying yesterday. And then after that, while I didn't necessarily say that Bitcoin is going to come all the way back down to 8,100, we did play out the medium term time frame range to the downside as well. So with all of that said, that leads us into today. After the halving, after the whole thing that everyone's been waiting for the last, like, I don't know, 10 years, because we've all known about it since the genesis of Bitcoin, of course. And and now we can kind of talk about actually the lower and medium time frames once again, as it really does tie into the analysis overall. And more importantly, we can put the emphasis right once again on the Krown trading application, which can be found at app.krowntrader.net. It's free. Take advantage of it. It's all good. And we do have the open interest showing about 750 million right now. So still kind of in that, no man's land territory, neither confirming nor denying the next phase, but also keeping in mind that we are still kind of part of the same sort of trajectory as of the last phase, if that's what you want to say. So we'll tie that into the analysis a little bit later, but keep that in the back of your mind's eye. Bitcoin dominance still hanging around that 6-7% marker, which we'll actually have to look at it today, because today would be a good day to look at that. As there's not really like too much to update on the medium and higher term timeframes for Bitcoin right now. Lower term timeframes is where it's actually at right now. But I do want to talk about some of my options trades recently. Anyways, I'm still bullish on this, but we'll take a look at it and see if that's still warranted. Overall, still looking for 70+%. So altcoins likely going to be getting boo caked on if Bitcoin makes any sort of a move here. If Bitcoin goes up, obviously altcoins will likely follow in US dollar, but maybe not so much in the Bitcoin pairing. Bitcoin goes down, well, you already know where I'm going with that. Of course, it's going to be outliers here and there. Maybe we'll even look at Link today, because it seems like the Marines are out in full force, and we'll see if Link's doing something different, which it has done in the past, to be fair. Anyways, crypto fear and greed index actually coming down quite healthily there. We hit up to about 55 over the weekend, finally getting into the greedy zone for the first time in like over 2 months, I believe. Now headed back down to a 39 read, which does essentially say that we're still within that same sort of phase from the past like week or two is what is kind of how to interpret that. So let's take all of that now, go into the actual price action analysis charts right here. Oh, I should say I will not be on Twitch today. I probably won't be on Twitch like this whole week. I'm still waiting for a few pieces for my new computer, and I've actually been working on a new channel for one of my other hobbies, gaming, which I understand that probably most people are not into, so please do not feel obligated at all to even give any sort of a fuck. But if you do happen to give a fuck, it can be found at Total Krown is the name of it, and support is obviously appreciated. And if you have a healthy amount of appreciation for Total War, which is what that channel is focused on, then that actually is a pretty cool place that we can reconvene as well. Anyways, more importantly, looking at Bitcoin price action right here, let's follow up on yesterday's analysis. So I left you off yesterday when we were like somewhere down around here, right? And I said Bitcoin was likely going to test to the downside of the blue box territory on the short term. We got that at about 8450-ish region. And then I was looking for Bitcoin to play out that 4-hour bullish divergence up to the 7100-ish region, which we got actually as well. Doesn't always work out that perfectly, so I do want to caution anyone who's like listening to this. Hey, at the end of the day, I'm gonna make plenty of bad calls in the future, so don't get used to it. It's all about if you understand how to use this channel properly, or at least what I would hope the value in this channel is not to give out signals, because my opinion's wrong on Bitcoin price action all the time, or on any price action all the time. But what is right and what is consistent and what this channel is focused on, as well as myself, is trading, which is only about finding good risk reward setups that have a statistical favor in your chance at the end of the day. That's what it all comes back down to. So, that's essentially what I'm going after. Anyways, as it stands right now, I pretty much have the same read as yesterday, actually. While Bitcoin did head up to our 7100 target right here, I said that we were likely going to have a pullback, and I would not be bullish for continuation as long as we are closing, especially 2-hour dildos below about 9150, which we got setup, which we obviously did, then, you know, I'd just be looking for a pullback and play out the range again. And what do you know? 4-hour dildo comes down and closes in the bottom side of this blue box territory, and we're still essentially playing out the same range while also tapping into the bottom range down here, which we had a nice little blue box at, which actually did end up buying a little bit in. Usually I don't like playing events like this, but because it did come down to a major level, which this level is not just the blue box of peace and prosperity from the last kind of breakout from 8,000 to, you know, 10,000 essentially, but it's also the long-term trend line coming in from our March 13th lows down here, which has been accurately working for the last, well, 2 months now essentially. So I did like that area, and then I sold calls against it. So I actually didn't even really follow up on my trades yesterday. So let me actually explain what I did yesterday for the people in the options program. I hope that this helps in some way. So I did buy on the retest of the blue box territory down here when, right after the stream when I was kind of looking for a move down there. Then I sold calls, not perfectly at the top. I'm not perfect with that. That's the whole value in using options. Don't need to be perfect with it to make money. But more importantly, once we got up above 9,000, I did start to sell some 8,500 calls against it. Once Bitcoin came back down right around the halving time, down around to 8,500, my sort of entry region on that, I actually got rid of those calls, and then I started offloading a little bit of them. And then once Bitcoin came down to like 83 to 8,200, then I got rid of all of them and essentially put on the same position again. And I also got rid of my my long stock to somewhere down around here on that initial pullback below about 86, where the strike was. So same, I just basically did the same trade. Just with different numbers. Once again, buying down around here. I didn't get the ultimate low or anything like that. I think I got into like 80. Let me go see. 8250. It looks like 8260. And then I just sold the 8,500 strike calls against them, which had incredible premium on them. Yesterday was a day to be selling premium because, well, what typically happens during an event, volatility gets fucking crushed because everyone's expecting, not everyone, but most people are expecting, especially the people who have like, a talking head on YouTubes and whatnot, are expecting big bad moves. We kind of got a big bad move, to be fair, but there was no break of any range. That's options major value right there. Play the fucking range. Don't play the lack of actual major moves. And now all these options are expiring worthless today. It's fucking beautiful. Anyways, as it stands right now for the lower term timeframes, I feel like that might have came off as arrogant or bragging. That's not my intention. My intention is to follow up for the people who have been kind of, I guess, looking at the same thing as me, I suppose, and who are familiar with options. Anyways, looking at the 4-hour right here in the lower term timeframes, still the ranges are pretty much the same, and I have pretty much mostly the same things to say as yesterday, except for two changes that actually are pretty massive. The first change is the upside now. Both of them actually come to the upside. Downside levels are more or less the same. For the downside, I'm not really, I'm just looking for more wicks into this region again to like 8,500 region. But as long as we don't get any sort of 4-hour dildo closures on a new low below this guy right here, which is right at 8,500, 8,506 on Mexico, by the way, then I would be looking for extension back down here to tap this blue box again, and also the long-term rising trend line at about 8,100 now, 8,150-ish region. However, we have tapped into that so many times now that I actually do think it could break if we did hit it again. Anyways, what I'm thinking actually is a little more likely here, especially seeing as Bitcoin just continues to go sideways, I do believe that actually suits the bulls a little bit better. And if we do see momentum oscillators on the lower term time frame start to turn up once again, which we actually are kind of seeing right now, and let's see what price action we'll have to kind of hold for them to remain to the upside using the reverse Stochastic indicator cross. As long as Bitcoin is on a 4-hour total closing basis above 8,600, momentum is still to the upside. So I do think that we will get another test back up towards 8,950, 9,000-ish region. Let's see what the 3 hour is showing right now too. 3 hour looks decently healthy to have another spike up into like the upper 8,000s, 8,900-ish region, and it will remain to the upside. Momentum is to the upside as long as we are above 8,500 even. So I like that that's aligned with the lower blue box territory for the short terms. Looking at the 2 hour, same thing, 8,550. So the top end of this blue box, nice $50 range. Momentum remains to the upside as long as we're above there. And hourly is probably going to be floating around. Actually, no, not so much. They're all kind of turning around at the same time. I like the upside here for the short-term time frames, maybe back up towards like 8,900-ish region. And momentum remains to the upside on the hourly as long as Bitcoin price action remains above 8,450. So that's actually incredibly helpful. What we can say more concretely is that essentially as long as like 4 hours and belowers are closing above 8,600, momentum is to the upside. And I do believe that we will be ultimately tagging somewhere back around like the low 9,000s. Now that's where the medium term timeframes change around. And yesterday I did say that as long as we're closing 4-hour dildos below 91.50, I'm not looking for that continuation to, well, technically speaking, I should say 9,400, but realistically, I don't think that we'd stop there except for like a short-term pullback. I think that we ultimately head up another $700 to like 9,700, maybe even 9,800, and tap into this area right here. But let me get through this idea first before we talk about that. And I can actually move that. Sounds so fucking stupid. I believe that you can move that area down now, and you can be a little more aggressive with that. If we even just get a tick above yesterday's high at 91.63 on Mexico. Once again, I'm going to put an alert right there actually right now. If we even just tick above there, I would be looking for continuation, at the very least another $250 high to 9,400. Like I said, probably a small pullback there. And then I'd realistically, I'd be looking for continuation back up to about 97, maybe 9,800, all the way up towards this area right here. Or any sort of a 4-hour dildo closure above this sort of last local high that we have, which is 89.30. Let's see what it looks like on a 2-hour, on the bi-hourly. Yeah, bi-hourly probably gets it as well. Any sort of a 2-hour dildo closure above 89.50 probably does do it. But actually in this case, I do think that using wicks is actually better, but they're probably both about the same efficacy here. So, either or, I have a feeling that if we were to kind of head back up, it'd be more or less a quick move. And that's why I think that using wicks here is probably better. So fair enough. And that's, very, very tradable, especially at this, this price point right here. Price actually moving relatively fast in a short amount of time. Now, here's the thing: the more that Bitcoin goes sideways here, I do think it is better for for the bulas. As we showed on the lower term timeframes, more sideways here does essentially align with momentum just continuing to the upside, at least to test the top side of the short term range, which I have at like 8,900 to 9,000, we'll call it. But the medium term timeframes as well are going to start to really shift around here too. And I'm starting to like the 12-hour for that fact. We have still been unable to break below, especially the 55 exponential moving average, which, and even the 200 kind of getting tapped a few times here as well. But my point is that we've been following the golden cross on this for a while now. And we can just focus on the green and the purple right here. That's 55 and 200 golden cross and death cross moving averages. Both the golden cross and death cross seem to have a lot of weight on the 12-hour for Bitcoin land. And I'm just looking at my lights in the background. It looks pretty cool. But there's more lights to come, and there's more computers to come, and there's a whole new setup to come, baby. I'm so excited. And can I hide it? I don't know. Anyways, so we did get the golden cross over here. Bitcoin comes down for a pretty nasty move, right? Taps into the 55. Well, let's see what this has done historically speaking. Again, just for reference, that's about a 20% move. Last golden cross that we had was back over here, kind of in a similar predicament actually. Bitcoin comes down from this high to that next low. About 11%, but look where it bottoms out at, the 55. No closes below there. Well, kind of the same thing over here too. Getting a few wicks in there, no closes below. So I like it as long as no closes are below, and that would be also kind of my next wave for getting a lot more downside. I could very easily look at like low 7,000 if Bitcoin breaks below 8,100 or closes below the 55 on a 12-hour, probably equally as damning. Back and over here, death cross gets the momentum to the downside very, very well. Multi-$1,000 move, same thing over here as well, although a little bit more of a hindsight trade. Not the best one there. Time before that was back in 2019, gets the golden cross right here, trades sideways for about a month, taps into the 55, reaccumulates on the 55 multiple times, and then boom, all the way up from 5,000 to 14,000. Sounds familiar, right? And this one also did have a pretty nasty dump off before testing that next major area. This one about 12.75%. To go back further than that, we'd have to go all the way back down to like 2014, 2015 right here, I think. We do have a golden cross initially propelling like a significant move to the upside, like 100% move. And then what happens after that, this one obviously like kind of an outlier here, but this one actually does come all the way down to the 55 and just reaccumulates along it. But because it was so overdone to the upside, I mean, it chopped around there for a little bit, as you can see, but I'm searching for my words. What I'm trying to say is that the 55 essentially reaccumulated it, which is kind of what I believe we're seeing right now. That one obviously an outlier at 41% to the downside. This one about 20% as it is right now. So what I can say a little bit more concretely for the medium term timeframes is that do I think that the lower term timeframes get this right below 8,500? Probably yes, very, very likely yes. But if if I want to be a little more careful with it, I would say any sort of a closure on a 12-hour dildo time frame below the 55 starts to put this under pressure, as well as the golden cross will naturally start to lose its confidence here if that were to happen. But as long as we remain above the 55, these two moving averages, the golden cross moving averages, will naturally gain divergence away from each other, which will actually strengthen a lot of the bot and algo buy programs for that. And I'd be kind of using this as like a nice little risk management portion right here. That also brings up the question, what happens if we break below that region? Well, I think I'd pretty much have that region the same, the same as the 4-hour 200 exponential moving average, and more importantly, this blue box, which I think is just easier to see, and then also kind of our long-term support trend line coming in from March 13th. If Bitcoin does break below that region, which I'm actually not really looking for here, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm bullish, but I'm kind of looking for Bitcoin to give another hunt to the upside at least, and then play out whatever move is going to play out from there, which we'll talk about the upside after this. But if Bitcoin were to break below 8100-ish region, especially on like a 4-hour dildo closure, even just take out yesterday's wick low, I do think that we have a very quick move down aggressively, another $500 to about 7450, 7500. So actually $600, which at a $7,000 price point is it's almost 10% move, pretty damn good. I would be looking for a bounce there, but ultimately I don't think it would stop there. I do think Bitcoin would head into like 7,000 to 7,100-ish region, and then we can come back and reassess, and and I'd want to see it in real time. Maybe we have a nice low there, maybe we're looking for continuation. I think it's way too early to say anything like that, with not even having like the first major part of that already present, which is breaking 8,500 right here. And then of course the even more important part is breaking 8,100 on at the very least a 4-hour dildo closure or a wick below yesterday's low, essentially. By the same token, to the upside, as we I kind of documented this already in depth, I suppose, but to the upside, I really like this area right here at the 97 to 9800-ish region. That's a 618 Fibonacci retracement from the ultimate high to the ultimate low, this last sort of melt up phase, if you want to call it like that. Last year, almost exactly 1 year ago, and it's also the major rejection that we had back in October 2019. Remember when China they either banned Bitcoin, or no, they didn't ban Bitcoin. They unbanned whatever the fuck they did. We don't even know what the fuck they did because no one understands what the hell they're saying except for Chinese people. But that's gonna come off wrong. Hey, my point is, it's fucking hard to understand what they're saying. That's it, man. If we could all just speak the same goddamn language, I think that people would get along probably a lot better, actually. Because that's really the reason why people don't. That's probably the reason why people don't get along in the first place, because they just can't communicate with each other. They just can't understand each other. But if we could just understand each other, which Google Translate is really good for that, then I don't know, man. The world's probably gonna be a better place. Anyways, so it was that area right there before getting off into massive other tirades, and also the major breakdown from February of this year, from about about 10,000 all the way down to 4,000, right? So it's a big pivot area on the market. Also, the long-term descending trend line coming in from our $14,000 high meets up with the price action about in this region as well. I'm gonna adjust this one right here. I do have it on linear scale right now. I'll put it on log. Yeah, it works a little bit better with wicks on log right here, as you can see. All kind of coming in the same area. And then of course we want to put on the good old Penis Christian over here, then we would see a nice big spike in volume profile in that region as well. Again, right around basically right below 10,000 essentially. So above there we do have a change behavior. And for the macro I've been saying before that I would be extremely bullish on Bitcoin with any sort of a weekly close below 11,500. I do believe that is still relevant. However, because we technically do potentially have another macro lower high in place as it is, I do believe that we could use the 10,100 level now as that area. If Bitcoin does retake that level, 10,150 on a weekly closing basis, or even just takes out last week's high, and especially this local high right here at 10,550, even just wicks above, I would look for extension another $1,000 into the mid 11,000s, so 11,500. And realistically, if Bitcoin got back around there, would it have a short-term, medium-term pullback? Probably, yeah. But I do think that would be set up for a long-term breakout to the upside to 16,000 and then 20,000 realistically. By the same token, to the downside, taking out last week's low, does it do it? I just feel like there's more. I actually feel like the lower term timeframes are better for that right now, but usually I would say yes. I'm not so confident on that on this look, because more importantly, the moving averages to me on the weekly are okay here, as long as we have a positive slope on the 21 and the 55, and as long as they're gaining divergence away from each other. I have a really difficult time being bearish on that. Anytime that Bitcoin's above the yellow 21 on the weekly, I mean, it is basically an uptrend, right? For the long term, more importantly, going all the way, let's go to a longer term chart. Anytime that Bitcoin's above the yellow, let's hold on, sir, god damn it. We'll do something like this. All right, so you can see just with your naked eye here, as long as Bitcoin's above the yellow 21 on a weekly closing basis, we're generally bullish. Whenever it's below, generally bearish. Take that one step further. Look at the slope. Is the slope positive or negative? Whenever the slope is positive and Bitcoin price action is above, generally bullish, and more so for the downside as well. And what do you know? As it is right now, as long as Bitcoin is above that 21, it will naturally maintain a positive slope. And well, we're above it right now on an open and close basis as well. So, I can really go either way here for like a nice $1,000 move. And I do think that we will see that probably in like the next week or so. And realistically, I'm just, as a trader, excited for a little bit of movement here to capture some of these very generous ranges. Looking at momentum oscillators, we do see weekly Stokes still up there. That is more or less good, although we do have a nice trend line coming in from our high at about 14,000 in June from last year. And we do also have this nice supporting trend line down here. So Bitcoin did, pop back up there, come back down, could be a long-term play as well. It's just right now, I think that we need more price action information. We don't have any major divergences to be aware of on weekly RSI. We still do have that same formation going on spot price action, it looks like. And by the way, I need to give a massive shout out to Bali for everyone. If you want this indicator, which actually shows you, and you can plot in the price levels that you want to see what the RSI would print, you can actually have it for free. Bali and Pig made it for free for everyone, which is really, 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 really awesome. Just type in the public library on TradingView RSI and EMA, and use like the and symbol for and, and it should pop up. Really, really cool of them to do to make it free for everyone. And go and enjoy, man. It's been quite useful for myself, even though I haven't really shown it too much right here, right now. But it is, it is definitely nice to confirm levels for major areas. Looking at the weekly Joule, we do see that it's essentially a hodl or long signal, but that was printed in early April. That was more than a month ago now. But it is still in more of a bullish posture, and I suppose I'm curious if there's anything obvious in like a daily. Daily's going to line up for a sell in like the next couple of weeks, it looks like. What about a 2-day? Coming back down as well. What about a 12-hour? Did give a damn good sell signal right here. I believe we called that one out, or at least I know a lot of people did in the Joule chat. Coming all the way down from like 9,600 to 8,000. I'd say that one you could very easily say that that's mostly played out. It's a pretty fucking big move right there. 20% move, pretty damn good. Is there anything on like the 4-hour? 4 hours still kind of under sell pressure is what it's showing. 3-hour is moving, is kind of shifting around. No real signal there. 2 hours actually a hodl or long signal. So 2 hour does say up as well. And then hourly, what do you say? Hourly gave a long signal right here as well. Not super perfect or anything like that. I actually don't take those, even though I guess I did take it, or no, I did not. I took this one right here. Yeah, so it'd be unbeknownst to me. So overall, fair enough. Not really getting too much from that, except for the 2 hour, which does say short term. Short term probably does test a little bit of upside here. Okay, cool. So, all right, let's do one for all the fucking Marines, because they keep on asking. Very persistent, and I do appreciate and respect persistence. Let's actually put on all these guys back on as well. Oh, I forgot to cover one more thing on Bitcoin. Hold on. All right, so let's go back to the weekly here. Weekly moving averages 21 and 55. If you're in the TA program, you know what I'm referencing right there. Price action very close to it. I think it offers up a very easy trade to be made. More importantly, to manage risk on as well. Anyways, okay, so let's go check out fucking Link. What is this pile of highly advanced technology doing? Actually, still going up. Actually, one of the best charts in cryptocurrency land versus Bitcoin. Versus Bitcoin. Let's go look at the dollar chart. But this chart right here, very good long-term uptrend. You don't need my opinion on this, man. It's fucking good. That's one of the best charts in cryptocurrency land, bar none. I mean, this is what the chart really looks like on linear scale. It's more impressive. It's very constructive. Very, 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 very good. Do you think that it probably taps back up towards the top side of the range at 50,000 Satoshis in the next couple of weeks, and any sort of a weekly close above there? I'm looking for new all-time highs. There's no real target to be made on something like that. And I'm bullish on this thing as long as it's above whatever the last local low is. Just play the trend. Dollar pairing, not as strong. Let's go to a daily. Dollar pairing actually looked kind of weak here. I would say if the dollar parent can close over 3.75 today, I would look for a retest of this prior high right here. But as long as this thing's below $4 on a daily closing basis, I do have a hard time being short-term bullish on it. It does look a little bit top heavy to me. Probably comes back down and tests around like 310 region. Overall, historical volatility percentile has been contracting for more than 2 months. So perhaps we do get like a Bitcoin-esque move here, so, relatively similar as well. This is pretty good, and it is ready to roll. So you should actually expect a big move on this relatively soon. And when I say big move, I do think either back down to $3 or all the way up to 4.75 actually. I think you're going to be testing either the top side of the range or the bottom side of the range. And this is not even the bottom side of the range. The bottom side of the range is back here at $2, but middle of the range is about $3. So I do think that move happens probably in the next week or two. It's looking like it's poised to have some movement. So let's go look at the Bitcoin dominance chart. So Link is obviously probably going to be an outlier for that. Nice girthy green dildos, just shish kebabbing all sorts of bearish Anguses who are bullish on absolutely amazing altcoins. Weekly, still bullish on it. Very, very bullish on this one. As long as we're closing weekly dominating charts, dominatrix charts above 67%, I'm looking for this to just blast up past 70 to like 73 long term. I don't know how long it takes, maybe maybe a couple of months, but overall this looks like a very healthy long term setup to me. Descending broadening wedge, usually a bullish reaccumulation formation, and looks more or less healthy here. I would turn back to bearish on this with any sort of a weekly close below 66.5 though, and target a move actually all the way back down here towards 63.5, which should benefit most alts very well versus Satoshi parents. But I'd imagine that's also Bitcoin going down too. So get skeeted on, my friend. My altcoin friends. Let's go check out. Do you want to even look at Buterin? Fuck me, man. Why do I look at this amazing altcoin? It's gonna do whatever Bitcoin does, as it typically does. Looks like it's looks like it's gonna have a chance there. Litecoin looking like absolute shit though. So again, gonna do whatever Bitcoin does more or less. Let's go look at traditional markets because we got Nas with new highs, motherfucker, new motherfucking highs. And have we hit our target at 9,400? We came about $50 away from it. I do think that it will give an official tappy tap here, and I do think that bodes well for Bitcoin as well. We have seen these markets essentially move together, and new highs is good for all. Rising tide lifts all ships. I would probably be looking for a pullback somewhere around 94.50ish region, but overall this looks relatively healthy to me over the long period of time. We're referencing higher term timeframes here now, so again, short term pullbacks and everything is secondary to this, but this does look like a massive inverted head and shoulders, left shoulder right here, and we've already broken out to the upside. Technically speaking, measure move would obviously be pointed us towards new highs, but I do think short term 94 to 94.50ish region, probably a pullback from there, and then we'll reassess the short term timeframes. I'm bullish on this one from a medium term timeframe perspective, as long as we are above 9,100 on a daily closing basis. E-mini futures for SPY, certainly not as strong. It needs to hold 2840-ish region on a daily closing basis. Weekly looks okay, but I would get obviously bullish on this one on any sort of a move above 2965. I would target up towards the next region at about 305 to 310 region. Looks good to me, and I do think that is going to fall through to the upside. But it is very obvious right now that the market's the stock market's being headed up by or held up by the tech sector, and that makes complete sense. We are really switching in from the industrial age into the information age, with kind of catalyzed by this whole coronavirus. And I don't have any political statements to make about the coronavirus. I don't care to make political statements about it, but there is one thing that has been solidified by it going on, and that is we now have a precedent set with how we will operate in the future with regards to these sorts of situations, meaning that anytime a virus comes around, shutdown time. And what happens during shutdown time? Well, businesses will be shut down apparently. And that means that, and again, I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm not saying this is good or bad at all, but the way that the world is heading is what it seems to me. The way that the world is heading is that if you ain't getting involved in the information age, if you're not learning a skill in that direction, you're going to be left behind. Because going into like a store, I feel like that's going to be a thing of the past relatively soon. We've been moving in that direction, you know, with things like Amazon and whatnot, and, you know, offering basically like same day delivery and shit like that, you know, over time. And now it's just being catalyzed because people are going to be like kind of conditioned to be afraid to go outside. I mean, shit, man, like people who are growing up right now, especially like the young and impressionable, this is going to make this is probably like the hardest thing that they've ever had to deal with, you know, just having to like stay inside for a little bit, which, okay, I get it. I'm being maybe a little bit insensitive. You know, I understand that it probably sucks for a lot of people. For myself, it's like literally the same goddamn thing, which for better or worse, you know, maybe that says something about myself, which is just kind of sad. But my point is that seems to be the way that the world is going, and people are going to be conditioned now to be afraid to go outside. People are going to be conditioned to be afraid of others, to seeing people in person. So where are things naturally going to go? Well, at home is safe. On the internet is safe. You can only just get, you know, viruses from malware and shit, which then we'll be protected against that. I bet that's going to be the next thing, you know, fucking malware. It's like, guys, we need to lock down everyone's computer because McAfee's virus protection didn't work today. You know where I'm going with that. Anyways, cool. I think we just talked a whole lot of nonsense here. Let me wrap this up for the not so patient. Well, I mean, if you make it this long, man, you're an OG of OGs, and I respect you. And not only do I respect you, I appreciate you, because I'm a TA nerd as well. So it's fun to talk about these things, you know, with like-minded individuals or even unlike-minded individuals. Great too. Whatever. Okay, cool. So lower term timeframes, essentially the same as yesterday. We can move down the top side of that, basically to here now, I do believe. Something more like this, just pivot it down a little bit. So I do think that it would be appropriate to get more aggressive with the move to the upside. Either a tick above our last high yesterday at 91.63 on Mexico. I would look for an extension, another $250 higher, probably a short-term pullback there, but ultimately I don't think it'd stop there. I think that we'd be heading up towards 97 and 9,800. It's also going to be a gap on the CMEs as well for the good old gap boys there. To the downside, and also, you know, either a tick above yesterday's high or a 2-hour or 4-hour dollar closure above about 89.50. We'll call it a more conservative estimate. To the downside, same areas, 8,500. If that's broken on a 2-hour dollar closure or a 4-hour, I would be targeting to move back down here towards 81.50. And then anywhere below 81.50 on a 4-hour total closure, or even even if we just get back down, I don't think maybe a short-term bounce there, but ultimately I do think that it would break through, and we'd head down to the mid 7,000s, probably bounce there, and then continuation down to 7,100, and then I'll come back and reassess. You know, maybe we're entering into like another major downside phase that we're going to happen, or maybe it's reaccumulation. I think it's I think it'd be inappropriate to call that right now. I don't call anything anyway, so whatever. This is all about trading. Okay, so at the end of the day, I want to be wish you well once again. I'm going to be going back to setting up the rest of this whole setup here for my redundant speakings. Take care, and until next time.